The scent hit them first. It was sweet, thick, and unmistakable, drifting across the expanse of silver pond. Brizzy hovered, her wings a blur of motion, eyes locked on the far bank, where the rare blue starflower swayed in the light. "I can smell it, Shellock. It smells like blueberry honey." She zipped down, her small frame straining as she gripped Shellock, preparing for the lift. She beat her wings harder, rising 3 feet off the mud, aiming for the center of the pond. Then the air turned against them. A sudden, violent gust slammed into the water, tearing through the reeds and catching them mid-air. Brizzy bucked, her wings struggling to find purchase. She dipped, then surged. But the wind was relentless, pushing them back toward the shore with brute force. "The wind is too strong," she shouted. "I cannot carry you and fight this breeze." With a final, desperate flap, she banked hard and dropped back to the safety of the damp earth. They skidded to a halt, the flower still mocking them from the distant bank. The pond stretched out before them, wide and impassable. Shellock did not look at the flower. He looked at the water. He pulled a small, waterproof drawer from his side, the mechanism clicking with precision. "If we cannot fly over, we must go through," he stated, his voice steady. He gestured toward the pond. "To cross, we need something that stays on top. Let us test our materials." Brizzy grabbed a smooth gray pebble from the bank. She hovered over the center of the pond and let go. Plate! The sound was sharp, final. The pebble vanished into the dark water, hitting the bottom without a ripple of resistance. "The water swallowed it," Brizzy chirped, her wings buzzing with agitation. Shellock reached into his drawer and pulled out a brass screw. He dropped it from his own height. It sank just as fast, leaving only a tiny, fading bubble on the surface. "Heavy materials like metal and stone have high density," Shellock explained, watching the murky depths. "They are too crowded for the water to hold up." Brizzy paced along the muddy edge, her eyes darting between the distant flower and the unforgiving pond. "If everything we have sinks, how are we ever going to get across?" Shellock reached back into his drawer, his claw emerging with a jagged piece of cork. He placed it gently on the surface. It did not sink. It bobbed, dancing on the tiny ripples. Brizzy dove down and poked it with a finger. It resisted, popping back up instantly. "Why does the water not swallow the wood?" she asked, her eyes wide. Shellock held up his magnifying glass, focusing it on the cork. "Look closely. It is full of tiny, invisible pockets of air. It is less dense than the water, so the water pushes it back up. We call this buoyancy." The logic clicked. Brizzy zipped in circles, excitement mounting. Shellock did not wait. He triggered a series of internal latches. His shell groaned, shifting as 2 wooden planks extended from his sides like outriggers. He reached into his storage, pulling out 3 large, cylindrical cork stoppers. With rhythmic, mechanical precision, he locked them onto his base. The structure looked strange, purposeful, and entirely new. He looked at Brizzy, his expression focused. "I need a sail to catch the breeze, Brizzy. Something light." He handed her a broad, dried leaf and a spool of silk thread. Shellock shifted his weight forward. The mud gave way, and he slid into the silver pond with a soft, liquid splash. He did not sink. The 3 cork stoppers held him firm, keeping his base inches above the surface. He was a miniature houseboat, stable and perfectly balanced. Brizzy hovered behind him, her wings beating with a steady, rhythmic hum. "Full speed ahead, Captain Shellock!" she shouted. She began to flap her wings, creating a focused gust of wind that caught the broad leaf sail. The vessel lurched, then began to glide. The water parted around the corks, leaving a faint, V-shaped wake that stretched back toward the shore. They moved faster than expected. Beneath them, giant water striders skated across the surface. Their long legs, barely dimpling the film, crystal-clear bubbles rose from the depths. Shellock adjusted his position, feeling the resistance of the water against his shell. He explained the physics as they traveled. The distance to the Blue Starflower shrank. They were masters of the crossing, cutting through the center of the pond with precision and speed. The leaf sail shuddered as they touched the soft mud of the far bank. The vessel came to a halt, the cork settling into the silt. Brizzy landed, her wings folding against her back. She looked at the blue starflower, its petals glowing in the soft light. Science is like a superpower, Shellock. It let us walk on water. Shellock reached into his shell, triggering a final release. The wooden planks retracted, and the cork floats popped loose, clattering onto the grass. Not walk, Brizzy. We just learned how to balance with the bubbles. He adjusted his focus, looking at the flower with clinical precision. Now, Shellock said, his voice steady and calm, let us collect this pollen for the lab. Brizzy stepped forward, the wonder of the crossing still clear in her movements. They had turned a barrier into a path, and now the real work began.